I hate how quiet the store gets after midnight. The hum of the freezer, the flicker of old fluorescent lights. It all sounds like breathing, the kind that doesn't belong to anyone. The air in Dollar Tree red. Hollow always tastes faintly of bleach and cardboard. 9 years of recycled air. Dust settling into the vents, old gum behind the counter nobody ever scraped up. But at night, the smell changes, it thickens, like the air itself is holding its breath. I'm Leah Morgan, 27 night shift manager because nobody else wanted the hours. The pay's garbage, but the quiet used to help. Used to. There's a rhythm to nights here. Sweep, restock, count drawers. Pretend the cameras still work. I talk to them sometimes, makes me feel less alone. One over aisle 2 still blinks red. A tiny heartbeat in the ceiling. I named it Dot. When you're alone long enough, you start naming things. Shelves, registers, the mop that never dries. Tonight the hum feels heavier, like something electric pressing against my skull. The freezers drone at a lower pitch. Almost a moan, and somewhere deep in the store, I swear I hear whispering but not words, just that half breath. Before speech, I tell myself it's the vents. The clock above the time card rack clicks from 12:59 to 1. Aim a single click that sounds louder than it should. I jump. Anyway, everything after that moment feels slightly wrong. The back office, monitor wall glows in sickly green tones. 16 feeds, half static, half looping from last week. Corporate stopped maintenance months ago, but somehow the cameras keep running, even during power cuts, even when the breakers are off. Dot's feed blinks twice, then freezes. A smear of light moves through aisle 5. Slow, liquid, not like motion blur. For a second, it looks like someone walking backward. Great, I mutter. Glitching again, I tap the side of the monitor. The screen rolls once and clears. The aisle's empty, clean, silent. No motion at all. But in the reflection on the monitor glass, behind my shoulder, something shifts. A tall shape at the end of the hallway. Dark vest, hair hanging forward, like it's underwater. I spin around. Nothing. The hall smells like dust and burnt wiring. Every fluorescent tube buzzes, then steadies. I laugh under my breath. That thin laugh you use to scare away the real fear. Too much caffeine. Leah. I turn back to the monitors. Now there are 15 aisles showing. We only have 8. By 2:07 a.m., I'm restocking the dollar bin toys. The silence is deeper now, as if the soundproofing thickened. Each package crinkles too loud in my hands. The air conditioner cuts off mid-cycle. A long exhale, then nothing. The lights flick once. All 8 rows stutter out of sync, creating shadows that twitch when they shouldn't. Every product on the shelf seems to lean forward at the same time. A tiny tilt toward me. I drop the box cutter. The sound echoes clear to the back of the store. When the lights steady, everything's normal again, except the aisle numbers. Someone's taped new labels above the signs in black. Marker, 9, 10, 11, 12. We stop at 8. Always have. The ink looks fresh, smells like alcohol. Marker. And the handwriting. It's mine, I call out, half laughing, half testing my own voice. Ricky? If you're pranking me, you're buying dinner tomorrow. Ricky's the day shift kid who never clocks out properly, but his car's gone. I watched him leave. No answer. Only that low freezer hum again, pulsing under the floor. Something drips from the ceiling near aisle 3. I touch it. Sticky. Metallic. The color's too dark for water. When I wipe it on my apron, it stains brown. The air smells faintly of pennies. I should leave. I don't. Instead, I go back to the office to check the monitors. Every feed shows aisles I don't recognize. Longer, narrower, darker, shelves stacked with objects wrapped in plastic, shapes too human to be toys. At 3:10 a.m., the feed labeled 13 flickers on. A woman stands there, her back to the camera. Green vest, long hair. She lifts her hand and waves. I whisper, "Who are you?" The speaker above the monitor crackles once. Then the whisper comes through. Not from the office, but from the aisles themselves. My own voice, slightly delayed. "You're not supposed to be here." My throat goes dry. I back toward the door, eyes still on the screen. The woman turns. It's me. Same uniform. Same tired face, but her eyes are black, pupil to rim, like burn marks. She presses her palm to the inside of the camera lens. A soft tap echoes through the speaker. Then the entire wall of monitors shuts off at once. Darkness. Total. Absolute. The backup lights flicker on red emergency power. I can hear the freezers vibrating. Metal expanding like slow thunder. Somewhere in the aisles, a plastic toy starts talking, high-pitched voice repeating, "Let's play again." Over and over, I step into the main corridor. All the aisle numbers are wrong now. Up to 15. The air feels heavy, thick with static, as if the store's lungs have filled with smoke. When I pass the mirror display, my reflection lags half a second behind, then smiles. I don't. A single fluorescent tube pops overhead. Glass showers down. A shard slices my wrist. The cut bleeds more than it should. The blood hits the floor and vanishes, sucked straight into the linoleum. I hear that whisper again. Closer now. "You're not supposed to be here," I whisper back. "Then who is?" The lights answer. All of them die at once. The dark isn't empty. It breathes. Soft, shallow inhalations ripple through the aisles, moving toward me like a tide. Every shelf clicks once, as if glass jars are flexing inside their packaging. I move by memory, one hand skimming boxes for direction, the other gripping the small flashlight clipped to my apron. It flickers before I even turn it on. When it finally steadies, the beam looks thin, suffocated by dust. Aisle 13 waits where aisle 7 should be. The floor changes color here, gray to a deeper shade, almost wet. Footprints track away from me, bare and reversed, toes pointing the wrong way. I whisper my own name to remind myself I'm real, Leah. From somewhere up front, the register dings. The sound travels through the dark like a pulse. Another ding, then the receipt printer whirs, slow, dragging, endless. I follow the noise. The flashlight coughs once, then dies. Static replaces it, air vibrating against my teeth. When I reach the counter, the register drawer is open, stuffed with paper. Each receipt reads the same thing. Purchased by Leah Morgan. Total $0. The printer keeps feeding until the roll hits the floor and curls around my shoes. Something presses down from the other side of the counter. Fingers, light as breath, tracing my wrist exactly. Where I cut it, I jerk back. The skin there is clean now. No. When the humming stops, the world holds still long enough for me to hear a voice whisper through the receipt paper itself, like air moving through reeds. "Stay. You're already clocked in." The aisles stretch longer than they should. I run until my lungs scrape raw. Every turn leads me deeper. Boxes stacked higher. Labels turning blank as I pass. One of the toys starts talking again. Same childlike tone, warped by distance. "Find her again." The syllables drag. "Find her again, again, again." I smash it underfoot. The voice keeps going, now muffled beneath the tile. At the end of the new aisle stands a row of mannequins dressed in our green vests. Their hands hang too low, fingertips grazing the floor. Each wears a name tag with my handwriting. Ricky, Janet, E. Harker, all. The names I'd ever signed on time cards. Their heads turn as one. Plastic creaks. Every mouth opens. The sound that spills out isn't screaming, it's breathing. One long collective inhale. I back away until I hit the freezer doors. Frost blooms across the glass in slow circles, forming letters from inside. Don't look away. I can see my reflection between the frost lines. She's smiling again. Only now she's closer, standing where I should be, palms flat on the glass. Her lips move, but no sound comes. Then the door handle turns itself. Cold air rushes out, carrying the smell of bleach and metal. Inside the freezer, the shelves aren't empty. They're filled with videotape cases, each one labeled in my handwriting. Closing shift 1:02 a.m., closing shift 2:14 a.m., closing shift 3:12 a.m. The last one reads, "Closing shift now." I reach for it. The moment my fingers touch the plastic, the monitors in the office ignite behind me, every screen showing me frozen mid-reach. The reflection in each frame moves first. She steps out. Her breath fogs the air between us. Mine doesn't. Up close, I can see the burn marks around her eyes, the melted outline of a name tag fused into her skin. It reads, Leah. I whisper, "What are you?" She answers in my exact tone, perfectly calm, inventory. Then she places her hand against my chest and pushes. No force, just inevitability. The world folds inward like film melting in a projector. When I open my eyes, the lights are on. Morning sun through the front windows, birds outside. Everything clean. The store smells normal again, plastic, lemon cleaner. Nothing else. The manager from day shift is calling my name from the doorway. Leah, you stayed late again? I try to speak, but my throat feels packed with dust. I look down, uniform, clean, hands uncut. He gestures toward the monitor wall. System rebooted last night. Only one frame recorded. He clicks play. The footage shows me standing at the end of aisle 13, smiling at the camera. Timestamp, 3:12 a.m. He laughs. We don't even have 13 aisles. I nod, pretending to. But I can still feel the cold under my nails, the static behind my teeth. When I turn back to the sales floor, a new sign hangs above the first aisle. Fresh marker, wet ink, aisle 13. And at the far end of it, beneath the humming light, someone in a green vest is sweeping slowly, rhythmically, exactly how I used to. I blink, and she lifts her head, same eyes, same smile. The hum deepens, swallowing the sound of the clock, the birds, my breath. Everything folds into that single tone until it becomes a whisper crawling through the vents. You're not supposed to be here. The lights flick once, hold, and the air turns thick again, like the store is drawing its next breath. I think maybe this time it won't exhale. I never believed in omens, but that night, I started to. The store was quiet. The kind of quiet that hums in your ears until you start hearing your own heartbeat. Fluorescent lights buzzed above me, the sound faint but constant like trapped flies. Dollar Tree nights are long. Aisles of forgotten plastic, cheap toys, and stale gum under that pale green glow. I'd gotten used to it. I'm Tyler Hayes, 29, assistant cashier at the Dollar Tree off Route 14 in Henderson, Nevada. Night shifts pay extra, and I like the silence, usually. That night it was 3:03 a.m. We'd been closed for hours. The mop water stank of bleach and metal. The air felt heavy, like the store itself was holding its breath. Then the motion sensor blinked green, and the door chime rang. My body froze. The doors were locked. The air shifted, cold brushing past my face, though no wind moved. The fluorescent lights flickered, shadows stretching along the tile. A man walked in. He was tall, pale. His coat was dripping, dark patches spreading down to the floor. It hadn't rained in weeks. His steps made no sound. He didn't look at me. He just walked to the counter and placed one item down. A candle, white wax, black wick. Label read, "Return to sender." The wax smelled faintly like burnt sugar, or something pretending to be sugar and sweet layered over rot. I cleared my throat. Hey man, we're actually closed." He didn't respond. Didn't move. Just stared down at the counter. I tried to scan the candle just to humor him. The scanner beeped once, then the register screen flickered, froze, and the numbers glowed red. $6.66, I half laughed. Guess the system's got a sense of humor. He raised his head. His eyes were gray. Not light gray, but dull, like the color of concrete soaked after rain. "You got exact change?" I asked, trying to sound normal. He nodded once, then slid a folded 20 toward me. When I touched it, I flinched. It was warm. Not from body heat. Too warm, like it had come out of an oven. The drawer slid open on its own. No air moved, but the bills inside fluttered like something exhaled. The printer beside me screeched and started spitting out paper, feet and feet of receipt tape, spilling onto the floor in curls. The man whispered something, his voice cracked and hoarse. It sounded like debt paid. Then he turned and walked toward the door. The bell didn't chime. The door never opened. He was just gone. I stood there, heart pounding in my throat, staring at the empty glass. Then I looked at the receipt. It listed purchased by Tyler Hayes. Underneath that, date, tomorrow, total. Due 666 transaction, complete 3:03 a.m. I tore the paper into pieces and tossed it in the trash. My hands were shaking. On the drive home, I tried to laugh about it, the tired kind of laugh you use when you don't want to think too hard. But when I reached for my keys, my fingertips still felt warm. I didn't sleep that night. Next morning, sunlight hit my blinds and the room felt too bright, too normal. I wanted to forget it, but my phone buzzed. Marvin, manager. Cameras glitched again. Need you early? When I got to the store, Marvin was hunched over the monitor wall, coffee in hand, his shirt half untucked. He pointed to the screens. See this? 303 to 305, static, every camera. The footage jumped, fuzzed out, and returned to normal. You were on last night? He asked. Yeah. Closed up like always. Then what's this? He pressed play. I watched myself behind the counter, frozen, not moving, eyes fixed on something off screen. The timestamp read 3:03 a.m. The image warped, stretched, then cut to static. He sighed. System bug? Maybe, I muttered. Marvin slid a piece of paper toward me. A receipt crumpled, singed at the corner. Receipt number 666, same total, same timestamp, but under cashier it read, unknown. My throat tightened. Where'd you get that? Register drawer this morning. And this. He opened the drawer. The candle was there, half burned. Wax melted over the barcode like skin. It was still warm. Tyler, he said slowly. You light candles here last night? No. He stared a moment longer, then shook his head. Toss it, and check the HVAC. Smells weird. The smell, that same faint sweetness smell, clung to the air. I waited until he went to the back, then looked in the trash bin where I'd tossed the torn receipt. Empty. That night, I told myself it was exhaustion, but around midnight, the hum of the lights felt different, like something was moving beneath it. The aisle stretched longer than I remembered. The reflection in the freezer doors lagged by half a second. I kept checking the entrance. At 3:02, I told myself not to look. At 3:03, the green motion light blinked. The bell chimed. The register flickered awake by itself. I said it out loud this time. Voice shaking, we're closed. Silence. Then I heard it. A soft drip, drip, drip from somewhere near aisle 7. When I turned the corner, I saw the wax trail, drops glistening under the light, forming a path toward the back room. The smell grew thicker, sweet and rotten. The stockroom door stood ajar. Inside, the candle burned again. Same one, same half-melted shape. The flame steady, unnaturally still. Around it, rolls of receipt paper had unspooled. Thin white strips scattered across the floor. I whispered, Marvin? The candle flickered once, like it heard me. I stepped closer, reached out, and pinched the flame. It went out. The silence afterward was so complete I could hear my pulse echoing in my skull. Then a faint click. The stockroom door swung shut behind me. I spun, grabbed the handle, locked. My breath clouded in front of me. When I turned back, the receipt paper had changed. New lines printed across it, faint red letters. Item returned. Tyler Hayes. I shoved the door, got it open somehow, and stumbled into the main store. The lights flickered, then steadied. Everything looked normal again, except the clock above the register. It was stuck at 3:03. I left without counting the drawer. I didn't even clock out. At home, I triple-locked the door. The desert wind pressed against the windows, whispering through the cracks. My phone buzzed on the counter. Unknown number, message 3:03, come back. I deleted it. Turned off the phone. That night, I dreamt of the receipt printer, the sound of paper spooling endlessly. When I woke, the room smelled faintly of wax. Next morning, Marvin didn't answer his phone. When I got to the store, the parking lot was empty except for his car. The doors were unlocked. Inside, the lights flickered. Marvin? I called, no response. The store was colder than usual. Every aisle looked slightly rearranged, like someone had moved the shelves a few inches during the night. I walked toward the back. The wax trail was there again, only thicker this time, streaked instead of dripping. The office door was closed. I knocked. Marv? Nothing. I pushed it open. The smell hit me first, and sweet, burnt, metallic. The candle sat on his desk, flame steady, the wax pooled and red now. Beneath it, a stack of receipts curling in the heat. On top was one marked voided transaction. Below it, employee, Marvin Dale. The chair behind the desk was empty, but it was still warm. I stepped back. The door closed on its own. A whisper followed, soft, drawn out. Debt paid. My knees nearly gave. I bolted for the front, but the automatic doors didn't move. The motion light blinked green, but the glass wouldn't part. Then the register screen behind me beeped. I turned. My name had appeared on it again. Tyler Hayes, return pending. The printer started. Paper poured out in long, writhing streams, spreading across the floor like pale ribbons. I stumbled back. The receipts brushed against my shoes. Warm to the touch, each one carried the same line. Transaction complete, 3:03 a.m. The lights buzzed, dimmed, and in their pulse I saw movement, a reflection in the door glass, not me, him, standing right behind me, the coat dripping, the same candlelight flickering in his hand. I turned, empty. But when I looked down, my hands were wet. Not blood. Wax, clear, warm, sticking to my skin, and the smell, that same sweetness, now chokingly strong. I backed toward the counter. The printer finally stopped. The last piece of paper slid out slow. At the bottom, received by Tyler Hayes, cashier, unknown. The lights flickered off. I woke in my apartment. For a moment, I thought I'd dreamed it, but my fingers were stiff, the creases of my palms coated in dried wax. My uniform smelled of smoke. I turned on the TV. News anchors murmured about a break-in at Dollar Tree on Route 14. Manager found missing. Store under investigation. My heart froze. They showed the footage, or tried to. Static across every frame between 3:00 and 3:05. I muted it. The printer on my desk, my own cheap one I used for invoices, powered itself on, paper fed through, blank. Then words appeared. Faint gray at first, then darker, return to sender. The page slid out and fell to the floor, curling at the edges. The clock on the wall clicked. 3 a.m. And from somewhere, not outside, not inside, a soft bell chimed. I quit Dollar Tree the next day. Told them I was sick, then never went back. But quitting didn't change anything. Receipts started showing up in my apartment, under my coffee mug, in my jacket pocket, folded in my wallet, all with the same time, all with the same total, 6166. I tried burning them. They wouldn't catch fire. I tried tearing them. They reappeared the next morning. Once I found one taped to my mirror. I swear it hadn't been there when I showered. Under cashier it read, Tyler Hayes. Under purchased by, unknown. That night, my lights flickered, and the smell returned, faint at first, then stronger. When I looked out my window, the streetlight outside buzzed. A figure stood beneath it, coat dripping even though the sky was clear. He raised his hand. Something small flickered in it, a candle. White wax. Black wick. It burned without smoke. My phone lit up beside me. No ringtone, just the notification glow. A text. From unknown. Only 3 words. Receipt. Number. 666. I didn't touch it. The candlelight outside flickered once, then went out. But when I turned back toward my room, the candle was burning on my desk. Same white wax. Same black wick. Still warm. And next to it, a single receipt curling in the heat, printing one final line across its surface as I watched. Transaction complete. 3:03 a.m. Under it, the ink bled and reshaped itself into new words, darker this time, like written from underneath the paper. Cashier, unknown. Purchased by Tyler Hayes. The printer clicked once more, empty now. And in the silence, I swear I heard the faint rustle of a paper drawer sliding shut, and a voice quiet, close enough to feel on the back of my neck. Debt paid. The air smelled of wax and rain. The clock read 3:03. and the receipt kept printing. I've always loved mirrors, until one looked back at me. The Dollar Tree near campus was closing in 15 minutes. The air smelled of lemon cleaner and dust, the way cheap light bulbs hum when they're about to die. Plastic skeletons dangled from hooks. Fake cobwebs sagged. I'm Samantha Dyer, 19, freshman at Greenfield Community College, Oregon. I stopped for Halloween decor, grabbed plastic bats, and that's when I saw it. A tall mirror leaning against the clearance rack. Handwritten tag, $1, slightly used. When I moved closer, the glass rippled like water. My reflection blinked half a second late. I laughed under my breath. Bad lighting, I thought. Need help, hun? The cashier called. Her voice had a static edge like a tape playing backward. I turned. She wasn't looking at me. She was staring at the wall, scanning invisible items. I paid cash. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. When the receipt printed, the paper jammed halfway, torn at the words, "No returns." My dorm smelled of ramen and plug-in lavender. Cinder block walls, one small desk, hum of a mini fridge. I leaned the mirror against the wall facing my bed. It made the room look bigger, safer. That night, I dreamed of light reflecting endlessly, me inside it, smaller every time. At 2:13 a.m., whispering woke me. Soft, low, too close. Mom's voice. She'd been dead 5 years. The mirror shimmered faint blue from the desk lamp. She stood behind the glass, smiling the way she used to before chemo hollowed her face. Her hand rose, brushed a strand of hair from my forehead. But my reflection didn't move. Cold slid through the room. The mini fridge hummed louder. Lights flickered once. Behind her, in the reflection stretched a hallway, long, dark, lined with door frames that didn't exist in my dorm. Something shifted inside it, crawling. I gasped and flipped the mirror to face the wall. Silence dropped like snow. When I woke, sunlight filled the room, and the mirror had turned itself back around. A crack split the glass down the middle, thin but deep, like something inside had pressed too hard. All day I told myself it was sleep paralysis. At class, my friends joked about haunted dorms, but their laughter made me dizzy. When I looked into the vending machine glass, my reflection's mouth lagged a beat behind mine. That evening I called Dad. Static filled the line, then his tired voice. "Sam? You okay?" "Yeah, just weird dreams." "You keeping that thing your mom left?" The old vanity mirror. I froze. "She left me one?" He sighed. "Thought I tossed it years ago." "Don't hang on to junk, kiddo." I stared at the mirror. The crack gleamed like a grin. At 2:13 again, whispers. Only this time, not Mom, something deeper echoing her tone. Syllables stretched wrong. My breath fogged in the air. The mirror's surface bulged outward. Faintly breathing, I whispered, "Mom?" Her face appeared closer now, eyes too wide. Irises pale as milk. "Come here, sweetheart." The voice came from behind me. Not the glass. I spun, empty room. When I turned back, she was closer still, pressed against the glass from the inside, cheek flattening like soft wax. A handprint formed, inside out. I grabbed my jacket and ran into the hallway. The mirror stayed upright, humming. I spent the rest of the night in the common lounge, lights bright, TV muttering game shows until dawn. Morning. Back in my room, the mirror stood perfectly clean. No crack. Only a sticky residue on the floor shaped like footprints. A new note had been taped to the frame. Return to aisle 9. My throat went dry. The store had been remodeling. Aisle 9 was seasonal decor. Mirrors, masks, fake tombstones. I should have thrown it away. Instead, I loaded it into my car. The Dollar Tree lot was empty except for a single employee unlocking doors. She looked up as I carried the mirror inside. Her name tag read Marla. Same woman, but older, 10, 15 years older than last night. Deep lines, tired eyes. I stammered, I bought this here. She frowned. We don't sell mirrors anymore, hun. It had a tag, clearance. She shook her head. We stopped after the accident. What accident? She stared at the crack in the glass. Girl cut her throat on one just like that. Halloween 2017, I whispered. That's the year Mom died. Marla's mouth opened, then closed. Leave it here. Her hands trembled when she reached for it. The moment her fingers brushed the frame, every fluorescent light in the store flickered. For half a second, every mirror in the aisle, cosmetics, toy compacts, chrome Halloween masks reflected the same thing. A narrow hallway filled with moving shadows. Marla gasped, clutched her chest and stumbled back. I turned and ran. That night, I tried to sleep without looking at the mirror, but reflections found me anyway. Window glass, my phone screen, the metal kettle on the stove. Each surface showed a hallway stretching away, dimly lit by a sickly amber glow. I stopped leaving my room, skipped classes. 3 days passed. Then came the smell, dust, bleach, rain on cold stone, and a sound like a fingernail dragging along glass. The mirror began to hum. Not loud. A low vibration under the skin. Inside, faint movement. Someone walking down that endless hallway, drawing nearer each night. I covered the mirror with a blanket. It bulged outward once as if breathing. When I woke, the blanket was folded neatly on the chair. The hallway in the glass was brighter now, closer. I thought about Mom again, how she'd looked at the hospice mirror before dying, whispering that someone was calling her from it. I'd laughed, trying not to cry. Now I understood. I tried smashing it. The hammer bounced off like rubber. Cracks spread across my walls. Instead, water dripped from the ceiling, though. The dorm above was empty. Every puddle reflected that hallway. At 2:13, my phone rang. No caller ID. Mom's voice. Faint. Almost home. Then static that sounded like breathing. The mirror's surface rippled, showing the dorm behind me, but without me in it. I touched the glass. It was warm. For a moment, I felt her hand close around mine from the other side. Then a tug. Gentle at first, then stronger, pulling my fingers through like the glass had turned to liquid. Cold swallowed my wrist. I screamed and yanked back. My arm came free, soaked, skin pale and pruned. Inside the mirror, my reflection smiled. It didn't stop smiling even after I backed away. The next morning, maintenance found my dorm door locked from the inside. They said the mirror was shattered across the floor, but every shard still showed a perfect reflection. That was a week ago. I'm writing this from the library computer lab. The screens around me keep dimming. Each one shows a hallway instead of the desktop. People walk by but don't see it. If I angle my head just right, I can see her standing at the far end, Mom, or what's left of her, holding out her, and the light behind her flickers like a heartbeat. Think I finally understand what she wanted to show me. There isn't another side of the mirror. There's a door, and it's opening. Every reflective surface around me is breathing now. When I blink, I lose a second. My reflection doesn't come back with me. If you ever see a mirror at Dollar Tree marked slightly used, don't buy it. Some things aren't secondhand, they're unfinished. The clock on the lab wall reads 2:13 a.m. The monitors have gone black, except for one, mine. It shows me standing in the hallway smiling. And behind me, something moves, the glass cracks, light spills through. Come home. Some smells never leave a store. Lemon cleaner, plastic, and something faintly sweet like rot pretending to be sugar. I'm Janet Rowe, 41 manager at the Dollar Tree in Pine Hollow, Kentucky. Been here 9 years. Never once believed the rumors about cursed products until the old woman came in. She looked frail, wearing a church hat and gloves in July, set a dusty bottle of cleaning spray on my counter, Said it was talking to her at night. I smiled politely. Probably the cap hissing, ma'am. She shook her head. It whispers names. Yours was last. Then she walked out without her change. That night the store felt heavier, air thick. Fluorescence humming off-key. I tossed the bottle into the dumpster out back and locked up. Next morning, every single bottle of cleaner was sitting on the front shelf, caps unscrewed. The smell hit me like spoiled fruit and metal. The labels were smeared, words melted together by something wet. When I picked one up, it was warm, and the plastic pulsed, like something breathing inside. The new cashier, Angie, laughed. Probably chemical reaction. Then she screamed. Her hand was bleeding. A tiny cut on her palm, shaped like a mouth. We checked the cameras that night. Between 2 and 3 a.m., the cleaning aisle shimmered, every bottle vibrating in sync, like they were humming. And for 1 second, there was a figure crouched behind them. Long hair, gray skin, eyes that reflected light like glass marbles. I called corporate. They said the footage didn't exist, said we must have overwritten it. But when I locked up again, the smell followed me home. My bedroom reeked of it, and on my nightstand in the same bottle, cap still off, label blank, except for one word written from the inside, Janet. I threw it out the window, heard it crack against the driveway, but in the dark, the smell still poured in, thick and sugary, like rot turned sweet. When I finally slept, I dreamed of aisles stretching forever, bottles lined like soldiers whispering my name in unison. The next morning, my window was shut. The bottle back on my nightstand, cap off again. The inside of the label was fogged, like breath trapped behind plastic. I could hear it then, faint clicks like a heartbeat, coming from the bottle. Angie called me that afternoon crying. She said she found her cut reopened, the skin peeling outward, like something inside trying to speak. She quit that night. By closing time, I was alone again. The fluorescent light over aisle 3 buzzed like a fly caught in glass. Every shelf smelled like heat. When I passed the cleaning section, one bottle rattled slightly, then another, until the whole row began vibrating. I whispered, "Stop." They did. Then, slowly, every cap turned on its own, counterclockwise, lids loosening one by one. A fine mist drifted out, shimmering under the light. The smell was overpowering. I could taste it, metallic sugar. Footsteps echoed from the stockroom, soft, bare. I turned, heart hammering. A woman stepped into view. Her face was wrong, skin sagging and gray, eyes glassy, clothes damp and clinging to her like a shroud. She smiled. "I returned it," she whispered. "But you didn't listen." I stumbled back, knocked over a display. "Who are you?" "You threw me away." Her voice came from everywhere, the vents, the bottles, the ceiling speakers. She took another step. The air behind her shimmered like heat rising from asphalt, and the smell, God, that smell, rolled through the aisle, thick enough to make my eyes water. I backed toward the register. "Please, just take it." She tilted her head. "It's expired." Every bottle exploded at once, caps firing off like gunshots, green mist filling the air. I coughed, choking. The mist burned cold. Shapes moved inside it. Faces, dozens of them, mouths open, whispering names. Mine the loudest. Then everything went dark. When I came to, the lights were steady. The store looked untouched, but the smell was worse. It coated my tongue, clung to my hair, seeped into the walls. Corporate sent inspectors. They said the air was clean. Angie stopped answering my calls. I worked alone after that. Weeks passed. Then the shipments started arriving again. Pallets stacked with cleaner I didn't order. Same brand, same faded green bottles. Every label dated the same. Expiration, 7/17/13, the year my husband died. I didn't even remember that date until I saw it. He'd collapsed in the aisle during inventory. Heart attack before the ambulance. Arrived, I'd spilled cleaner trying to save him. The smell had filled my lungs that night, too. Now it was back. I tried refusing the Deliveries. They came anyway. I tried smashing the bottles. They leaked thick, black syrup that hissed when it hit the floor. The humming started again, soft, rhythmic, almost human. Sometimes it said my name. Sometimes it said his. I stopped sleeping. The bottle on my nightstand still fogged at 2 a.m. every night. Sometimes I heard breathing inside it. Sometimes tapping like nails against glass. Last week, the health inspector came by. He joked about the smell. I told him not to touch the displays. He didn't listen. He picked up a bottle, shook it, said, "Feels like something's alive in there." Then he laughed and froze. Blood trickled down his wrist, tiny teeth marks in his palm. When he blinked, something small and black wriggled out of the wound and fell onto the tile. We both stared. It moved like liquid, then slipped between the cracks in the floor. He ran. Never came back. Corporate called yesterday. Said they were shutting us down. Inventory expired. Too many complaints about smell. I'm supposed to clear the shelves tonight. Everything must go. I don't think they understand. It's not inventory that's expired. It's us. I'm standing. In the aisle now, the lights flicker overhead. Slower each time. The bottles are whispering again. They sound almost kind. One of them is pulsing brighter than the rest. It's warm against my palm. Inside, something moves. It looks like breath, or smoke, or memory. It presses against the plastic like a trapped lung, and I swear I can see a face in it. His face. He's smiling, mouth moving, saying my name. The label melts. The letters slide downward, forming one new word in wet ink. Return. I'm so tired of fighting it. Maybe this time I'll listen. Maybe that's what it wants, someone to finally take it home. The smell is stronger now, sweet enough to burn. I can feel the air getting thicker, the floor trembling under my shoes. The caps are all turning. Again. I think I understand what the old woman meant. It doesn't just whisper names. It collects them, keeps them fresh. If anyone finds this, don't clean up the spill. Don't breathe too deep. And whatever you do, never throw it away, because some things don't expire. They just wait for restocking. The lights flicker one last time. Something moves behind me. I can smell lemon and metal and sugar all at once. The bottle in my hand grows warm. Too warm. I hear it whisper again. My name, Janet. I never liked working alone in the mornings. The hum of the fridges, the smell of old mop water, it feels like the store's still asleep. But dreaming, you move through it quietly, like you're walking inside someone else's head. I'm Darren Cole, 33, store lead at the Dollar Tree in Melville, Kansas. I've worked here long enough to know every sound the building makes, every tick in the pipes, every flicker in the fluorescents. So when something changes even a little, you feel it like a pulse under your feet. We'd been closed for renovations for nearly a month. Corporate wanted a full reset. New tiles, new freezers, updated security. No power, no staff, no stock. I was just supposed to check in once a week, take photos, and make sure no contractors were stealing copper wire. Easy, boring, silent. Monday morning I drove up before sunrise. Frost feathered across the windows. The lot lights were half dead. The ones that still worked buzzed faintly in the cold. My coffee steamed in the dark and the building looked hollow, like a prop version of itself. Then I noticed the glow under the doors. A soft green light, pulsing. I frowned, wiped the glass with my sleeve. The automatic doors were shut, but light leaked from inside. Steady, electrical wrong. I unlocked the latch manually, pushing through. The air that met me was cool and damp, laced with lemon cleaner and something sour underneath. The lights were on, all of them. The freezers hummed. The vents whispered. The whole store was awake, but there wasn't supposed to be power yet. I stood still, listening. The silence wasn't empty anymore, it had rhythm. The hum of machinery, the subtle drag of something moving over tile. When I reached for my clipboard, my eyes caught the punch clock beside the office door. A fresh time card was jammed into it. Gayem, E. Harker. I just stared. That name didn't belong to anyone on payroll. Not anymore. I'd seen it once, years ago, on old staff lists buried in HR folders. Edwin Harker. Worked here before I joined. Quit abruptly. Or got fired? Nobody remembered. The clock ticked once, then stopped. The air felt heavier, like the building had exhaled. Something brushed the edge of my hearing, a slow scrape, back and forth like broom bristles over tile. A cleaning crew? No, they'd finished last week. I followed the sound. The aisles looked wrong. Every shelf gleamed. Product perfectly faced, rows lined in impossible symmetry. We'd cleared these out. Pallets were still shrink-wrapped in the back when I left Friday. Yet here they were, cans, boxes, plastic tubs, all polished, all new. The scrape grew louder. Down aisle 4. I turned the corner and saw him, tall, lean, wearing an old green Dollar Tree vest, faded at the seams, logo almost gone. Back to me, sweeping slowly, deliberate strokes, each one landing with the same rhythm. "Hey," I called, my voice cracked against the hum of lights. "Store's closed!" The broom didn't pause. I walked closer, the soles of my shoes squeaking softly. "You're not supposed to be in here, man. Who let you?" He stopped mid-motion. The bristles hung just above the tile. Then, without turning, he started again, exactly where he'd left off. I was 10 feet away now. His skin looked gray beneath the buzzing lights. The collar of his shirt was wet, darkened like he'd been sweating. "Sir?" Nothing. I reached the end of the aisle. Empty. The broom leaned against the shelf, still trembling faintly, like it remembered movement. On the floor, a single footprint. Bare, human, the sole black with grime, toes splayed wide. The tiles under it shimmered, slick with moisture that shouldn't have been there. I crouched down. The smell hit first, mold and old bleach. When I touched the edge, it smudged across my fingers, greasy as ash. Behind me, something clattered. The broom had fallen. The store went still again. I backed out to the front, pulled out my phone and opened the security app. Motion detected. Aisle 4, 6:08 a.m. I clicked the feed. Static flickered, then cleared. The man in the green vest stood exactly where I'd seen him, sweeping. But there was no sound. The camera timestamp jumped every few seconds, skipping frames like memory loss. He kept working for hours. At 8:13 a.m., he stopped, turned toward the camera and smiled. Then he walked straight into the wall. Not through a doorway, into it. His body dissolved grain by grain, the pixels pulling apart until there was only empty tile. I replayed it twice, then again, slower. Each time the smile lasted longer. My stomach twisted. Corporate would say corrupted footage. But I knew what I'd seen. I killed the lights, locked up, and drove home without breathing until the highway opened. That night I dreamed in fluorescent colors, shelves gleaming like mirrors, hands turning cans label out forever. When I woke, my phone buzzed. Store alert. Motion detected again. 5:59 a.m. I told myself it was rodents, air drafts, anything but that. But I still drove back. The lot looked darker than before. None of the lights were on. My reflection in the door glass looked pale and wrong. Inside it was cold. Powerless. Except the back office light was glowing. My locker door hung open. The lock was bent in half. Inside sat a folded vest, old faded green. Tag stitched in red thread, E. Harker. It smelled like lemon cleaner and damp cloth. My own uniform was gone. I didn't touch the vest. I left the store, heart pounding, palms slick, and called my district manager. He sighed through the phone, promised to send a contractor to check electrical. But by Friday, no one had gone in, so I quit. Simple as that. Except it wasn't. Because a week later, driving home from my new job at a hardware store, I passed the old building. The windows were lit. Too early for business hours, too late for stocking. I pulled over. Inside, the aisles shimmered again, neat as a photograph. And down aisle 4, a figure moved. Green vest. Broom gliding. At first I thought it was Harker. Then I saw the tag glint under the lights and D-Cole. My throat closed. I pressed my hand against the glass. The air on the other side fogged like someone breathing back. I turned, smiled. The lights blinked once, twice, then stayed dark. Now every morning around 6, the store lights flicker on for a few minutes. Sometimes I park across the street, coffee cooling in my hands, watching through the haze. He's always there, sweeping, stocking shelves that don't exist. And if I wait long enough, he stops, turns to the window, and his reflection moves half a second after mine. Storm nights always bring the strangest people in. Rain, thunder, and that hollow hum the lights make when the power's about to die. I'm Evan Rourke, 31 night cashier at the Dollar Tree in Brookhaven, Missouri. We close at midnight. But that night, someone came in late. Real late. The parking lot was empty except for one car. Old Buick. No plates, wipers moving, but no one inside. By 12:47 a.m., the door chime rang. A woman walked in, soaked to the bone, clutching a paper bag. Her hair stuck to her face. Her shoes squelched on the tile. She didn't even glance my way. I said we were closed. She kept walking, slow, steady, straight to aisle 7. The air felt charged, thick with ozone and wet asphalt. Every light above her flickered as she passed, and through the hiss of rain, I swore I heard the intercom whisper a name I hadn't spoken. She came back with 3 things: a lighter, a single candle, and a length of rope. Her hands trembled, but her face was calm, too calm, like someone already finished crying. I rang her up. The register jammed halfway through, printing the receipt. I muttered an apology, tugged at the paper. She turned her head toward the security camera. Not me. Then she smiled. That smile chilled me, not because it was cruel, but because it was grateful. Like she was thanking someone I couldn't see. When she left, the bell didn't chime again. The doors hissed, but no air moved. No footprints. No dripping water. I told myself maybe she ran back to her car. But when I looked outside, the Buick was gone. Only the wipers still moving, scraping across an empty windshield. I locked up early that night. Drove home in silence, the storm pressing against the glass. Every traffic light blinked yellow, like the town was half asleep. I couldn't shake her eyes, glassy, unblinking, or that whisper through the intercom. Next morning, the manager called. He sounded off, voice shaking. "Evan, why was the door unlocked?" I told him about the woman, the purchase, the jammed receipt. Long pause. Then he said quietly, "That store burned down in 2004. Woman died inside, rope, candle, same aisle." I laughed it off, nervous, disbelieving. But when we checked the footage, the door opened by itself. Rain blew in. Nobody there. At the counter, the register light flickered, and a slip of paper unrolled slowly from the slot. Total, $0. Customer name, paid in full. I didn't sleep that night. Kept thinking about how her wet hair clung to her neck, how she never blinked. By dawn, curiosity beat fear. I drove back to the store. The lot was taped off for renovation months earlier. Windows boarded, door chained. Inside, through the gaps, I saw the faint shimmer of candlelight down aisle 7. I told myself I imagined it, but the smell, wax and smoke, and drifted out through the cracks. I quit a week later, told myself I'd start fresh in Kansas City. New job, new life. But even after I moved, little things kept happening. The hum of the fluorescent lights in my kitchen would rise just before midnight. Receipts curled from the printer in my drawer, blank except for those words, paid in full. Once, during a thunderstorm, I woke to find a paper bag on my kitchen table. Inside, a candle, a lighter, and a coil of rope damp with rain. My front door was still locked from the inside. I stopped telling people. They'd think I was chasing ghosts. Maybe I was. 3 months later, I drove back to Brookhaven. Couldn't explain why. Storm season again, roads slick with water, the highway signs glowing like they remembered me. The Dollar Tree stood half collapsed, roof caved, vines crawling through shattered glass. But the automatic doors still faced the lot, crooked but whole, and when I stepped near, they hissed open like lungs drawing breath. Inside was rot and mildew, shelves warped and empty, yet aisle 7 looked cleaner than the rest. Dry floor, faint smell of wax. I found the counter still standing, register black with soot. The drawer hung open. A single receipt sat curled inside, printed faintly in red ink. Evan Rourke, 12:47 a.m., paid in full. Something shifted behind me. A soft scuff, like wet shoes on tile. Then the whisper again, close to my ear this time, a woman's voice, gentle, grateful. Thank you for waiting. The air grew colder. I turned. Nothing there, just a line of melted candles leading down the aisle. At the end stood the old Buick, impossibly wedged between shelves, headlights off but wipers moving. Inside, the driver's seat empty, passenger seat soaked. The radio hummed static, faintly syncing with my pulse. I took a step closer. The engine coughed once. Then I saw it, my own reflection in the window. But the me inside was smiling. The smell of smoke filled my lungs. The aisle lights flickered alive one by one, chasing toward me. I heard the register behind me ding, printing something new. I backed away, stumbled, hit the door, but it didn't open this time. It just groaned against my weight, like it was holding me in. The intercom crackled overhead. Through the static came the words I'd heard that first night. Paid in full. Over and over. Like a chant, I ran through the aisles, past the shadows of things that shouldn't move. Every product label faced forward perfectly, gleaming. Every shelf full again. Candles, lighters, rope, thousands of them. The sprinklers burst above, but no water came, my only ash. The air shimmered with heat. My skin prickled. And then I saw her. Standing at the counter, paper bag in hand, smiling the same wet smile. She didn't look burned. She looked relieved. Your turn, she said. Voice calm, kind. Receipts have to balance. Something in me broke then. I felt my chest tighten, my heart pounding like a fist against the register. I screamed that I hadn't done anything, hadn't asked for this. But the flames were already crawling up the walls, flickering blue and gold, dancing without heat. They made no sound except the hum, that hollow fluorescent hum I'd heard all those nights. The woman stepped closer. Rain began falling inside the store, sizzling as it touched the glow. She reached out, placed the rope on the counter. You left the door open, she whispered. Someone always has to close it. Then she vanished. Not like smoke, but like light flicking off. I woke outside, lying on wet pavement. Sirens wailed in the distance. The building behind me stood dark, untouched. No flame, no smell of smoke. My palms were black with soot anyway. In my pocket, a folded receipt. Total. Sortibarum 1, customer, paid in full. Cashier, Evan Rourke. That was 3 years ago. I work day shifts now. Different store, different town. Still, every storm night at 12:47 a.m., the lights hum just a little too loud. And sometimes, when I glance at the mirror behind the counter, I see her just for a breath and standing in aisle 7, waiting for the next customer. I've stopped trying to fix the flicker. Some things don't want fixing. They just want to finish the transaction. My son begged me for that toy. Just a cheap talking doll from the clearance bin near the register, the kind with stiff limbs and a smile painted too wide. Her box said, "Hi, I'm Penny. Let's be friends forever," in bubble letters that looked like they'd been redrawn 1,000 times. The voice chip inside was weak. You could hear the battery hiss between words. But Lucas clutched her like treasure, and after a 10-hour shift at the diner, I didn't have the heart to say no. $1 felt like a small price for a little bit of peace. At home, the rain followed us in, the smell of wet asphalt, the creak of old floorboards swelling with humidity. Our house on Maple Street was small, barely holding the two of us in the silence we both pretended not to notice. He lost his father 2 years ago. I lost the version of myself that could sleep. Now I just worked, counted tips, and listened for him breathing down the hall. He played with Penny at dinner, fed her spoonfuls of mac and cheese, talked about school, asked if she liked cartoons. I told him not to talk with his mouth full. He ignored me like always, whispering secrets to the doll's frozen grin. When I tucked him in later, the toy was already propped on his pillow, her painted eyes shining faint blue under the nightlight. The first time it spoke, I thought it was sweet. That high, syrupy voice crackling, "Hi, I'm Penny. Let's be friends forever." Lucas giggled. I smiled, bone-tired, almost convinced the world was normal again. Then one night, it said something else. "Mommy's late again." I froze in the doorway. Lucas was asleep, his breath even and slow. The doll sat upright on the shelf, eyes catching the faint glow of the baby monitor like 2 coins of light. I told myself I'd misheard it. A glitch, static. I even laughed, a tiny sound that died halfway up my throat. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't the doll's voice at all, that something else had spoken through it. The next morning, Lucas told me Penny didn't like the dark. He said she woke him when the thunder started and whispered that I should close the window because the rain might take him away. Kids make things up. I told myself that over and over like a prayer against the absurd. But that night I checked the batteries anyway, twisting open the little screw at her back. They looked fine, new, almost shiny. I took them out anyway. 2 nights later, I heard her voice again, soft, close. "Don't cry, Claire. Daddy didn't mean to leave you." My heart nearly stopped. The room was dark except for the red blink of the monitor. I went straight to Lucas's room. He was asleep, hand curled under his chin, the doll beside him. Her lips were slightly open. No batteries, no motion, no reason. I snatched her up and shoved her into the closet, deep behind boxes of outgrown clothes. The smell of plastic and dust stuck to my hands. Morning came gray and wet. Lucas sat at the kitchen table drawing with his crayons, circles, stick figures, something that looked like waves. "She said we're moving soon," he said without looking up. "Who did?" "Penny. She said she doesn't like apartments." My stomach turned to stone. We hadn't told anyone about the eviction notice. The paper was still folded inside my purse, unreadable in the diner's dim break room light. I forced a smile. Told him dolls don't talk about grown-up things. He looked at me like I was the one who didn't understand. That night the storm came hard. Wind against the siding, branches scraping glass. I worked the late shift. Came home past midnight to find Lucas's light still on. The baby monitor hissed faintly, a loop of static, then laughter. 2 voices, one small and bright, one hollow and far away. "Ready or not," Lucas said, then a giggle that wasn't his. When I opened the door, the laughter stopped. The doll sat on his pillow again, her dress soaked as if she'd been outside. The window was open, rain pooling on the sill. Lucas stirred, half asleep, whispering, "She's teaching me how to stay." The next morning, he was gone. The bed empty, the blanket still warm. Window open again, curtains tangled in the wind. The police came. They searched the woods, the creek, the old drain tunnel at the end of Maple. All they found was Penny lying in the mud, her plastic face warped, eyes melted from heat. The officer handed her to me in a sealed bag, and I swore I could still hear faint static leaking from inside. They sent the voice box for analysis. Weeks passed. I quit the diner, couldn't stand the sound of plates, clattering like distant thunder. Then, a detective called. He said they'd salvaged a few seconds of audio, asked if I wanted to hear. Shouldn't have said yes. The voice that played was my own, soft trembling, the same tone I used when Lucas was sick. "Hi, I'm Penny, let's be friends forever." I moved after that, tried to start over in a small apartment above a laundromat in Fairview Heights. Noise helps, the hum of dryers, The hiss of pipes. Silence feels like invitation. I boxed up everything from the old house except the doll. They never gave her back, said she was evidence. Sometimes I wonder if that's why she's still angry. Every few nights I wake to the sound of a child's laugh through the walls. No kids in this building. Once, when the pipes rattled at 3 a.m., I thought I heard the words, "Mommy's home." Pressed my ear to the plaster and whispered his name until my throat ached. I told myself to let go, even bought a small nightlight for comfort. The same kind Lucas used to have, blue glow, gentle hum, but sometimes the light flickers, and I catch the faint outline of a child's shadow on the floor, holding hands with something smaller. Last month, a package came, no return address. Inside, a cheap plastic doll head wrapped in newspaper. Its eyes were gone, sockets packed with sand. Taped to its neck was a scrap of receipt paper, faint, water-stained, barely legible. The ink read, "Hi, I'm Penny." I threw it away. I watched the garbage truck crush it. But that night, when I turned off the lights, I heard the whisper again, from the closet this time, behind the coats. "Don't cry, Claire. We're almost done moving." I didn't sleep. I just sat in the kitchen, staring at the reflection of the hallway in the window glass. For a second, I thought I saw movement. Small, slow, like something crawling out from the dark. Morning came heavy and colorless. I called in sick. Spent the day packing boxes I hadn't touched in months. When I opened the closet, I found the floor wet, not damp wet, like someone had poured water straight through the ceiling. And lying in it, face up, was Penny. Her hair was gone. Her mouth had cracked open wider than before. Plastic warped around the edges. Inside, where the voice box should have been, something pulsed faintly, like the blink of a dying light. I reached out. The air smelled like burnt dust and rain. When I touched her, the voice came back to life, sharp, clear, no static this time. "Mommy's late again." The apartment lights dimmed. My reflection in the window blinked even though I didn't. I dropped the doll, stumbled back, heart hammering. The radio on the counter turned on by itself. White noise, then faint overlapping voices, children. A lullaby reversed, broken syllables that formed my name. I grabbed my phone. The screen showed a new voicemail. Time-stamped 2:17 a.m. The same time I'd been sitting in the dark last night. I played it. Lucas's laugh filled the room. Then silence. Then my own voice, slow and low, saying, "We're home now." When I told the landlord I was leaving, he looked relieved. Said the last tenant in that unit lost her kid, too. A girl named Penelope. They found her toy still talking, days after the fire. He smiled weakly and said maybe I'd been hearing the pipes, maybe. I drove till morning, until the town was gone in the rear view. Stopped at a rest area, washed my face in cold sink water, tried not to think. But when I looked up, the mirror above the sink had fogged in the shape of a small handprint, and beneath it, scrawled through the condensation, one word, "Stay." I keep the doll's head now, not because I want to, because no matter how many times I throw it away, it finds its way back. Sometimes on the passenger seat, sometimes in the fridge once on my pillow. Its mouth no longer moves, but if I listen closely at night, I can hear the faint whir of gears inside, ticking like a clock, counting down to something I can't stop. I used to pray. Now I just talk, softly, the way mothers do when they're afraid the dark might listen. If Lucas is still out there, if he's caught somewhere between the voice and the silence, maybe he can hear me. Maybe that's what Penny wanted all along, to keep us together. Forever. I dream of him sometimes. He's older in the dreams, maybe 10 or 11. He holds the doll by the hand. They both look at me, and when he speaks, his voice comes through her mouth. "Mommy's late again." When I wake, the air smells like rain, and there's water on the floor that dries before I can wipe it. Last night, I heard tapping from the hall, a slow rhythm, like fingers on plastic. When I opened the door, Every toy from the donation box, dolls, trucks, stuffed animals, faced the same direction, toward me, and from somewhere deep inside the pile came the voice. "Hi, I'm Penny. I haven't gone back in that room since, but sometimes, when the wind hits the siding just right, it sounds like laughter, like two voices, echoing off wet glass, and I catch myself whispering back, not because I want to, because it's easier than pretending I don't hear them. Hi, Penny, I say. We're friends forever." Every Dollar Tree has a room you're not supposed to open. Ours was called Stockroom Number 9. I'm Vanessa Crow, 26 inventory clerk at the Dollar Tree in Dry Creek, Colorado, a strip mall town wedged between two dying highways and one gas station that never fixed its flickering sign. I used to think the worst thing about that job was the smell of old cardboard and pine sol that stuck to your clothes, but I was wrong. It started small, with a key. On the manager's ring, among the usual ones labeled storage, freezer, office, was an extra brass tag stamped 9. No one talked about it. Not even Don, the night manager who'd been there since before I was born. He used to tell us to ignore the back hallway after dark. "Old plumbing," he'd say whenever we heard something move in the vents. "Just rats. Don't go poking where you don't belong." Dry Creek's Dollar Tree was the kind of place time forgot. The lights hummed with a tired, high-pitched buzz. The freezer doors wheezed when you opened them, exhaling cold air that smelled faintly of metal and sugar. Everything felt a degree dimmer than it should, like the bulbs were afraid to shine too bright. I worked the late shift because I didn't have a choice. Rent was cheap, hours were long, and the store never closed on time. Most nights I was alone, counting boxes in the back while the front door chimed for ghosts. The hallway that led to Stockroom Number 9 sat behind the employee lockers. It was narrower than the rest, concrete painted over too many times, like the building wanted to bury whatever was underneath. At the end stood that door, gray metal, padlocked, air colder around it like the AC vent only blew there. No one ever touched it. Even janitors avoided that corridor, mopping up to its threshold before turning away. The padlock was rusted but intact, until the night everything changed. That night, the storm came early. Rain hammered the parking lot so hard it looked like static through the glass. Power flickered, fluorescence whining as the backup generator coughed to life. I was halfway through inventory, scanning SKU numbers that blurred together, when I heard the first sound, scrape, metal dragging across concrete. It came from the back hallway. I paused the scanner, listened. "Anyone there?" Silence, then again, scrape slower this time. My flashlight was the cheap kind we sell in aisle 6, dull beam, weak batteries. Still, I took it and walked toward the sound. The store felt emptier than usual, like the aisles had pulled back into the dark to watch. When I turned the corner, I saw it. The padlock on Stockroom Number 9 hung open. I swear I hadn't touched it. None of us had keys that fit that lock. I reached for it, half expecting it to burn my fingers, but it was cold, colder than the air around it. The door creaked inward before I could decide whether to stop. Behind it wasn't a room. It was a staircase. Concrete steps leading down into blackness, lined on both sides with shopping carts. Each cart was filled with mannequin heads, some plastic, some porcelain, some too real to tell. Everyone had a green sticker on its forehead. 100. My stomach turned. The smell down there wasn't dust or mold. It was copper and old perfume, the kind of scent that clings to thrift store clothes. I should have turned back, but curiosity's a slow kind of suicide. I called out again. No answer. Halfway down, the beam of my flashlight brushed against something tall, a figure in a green vest identical to mine, facing the wall, shoulders squared, still. "Hello?" It turned its head, only its head, backward, until its face met the light. The smile was wrong, too wide, skin folding at the corners like seams. I dropped the flashlight. By the time I grabbed it again, the stairs were gone. Just concrete wall. I stood there, heart thudding, staring at gray paint. Then the emergency lights cut out. Darkness. Complete. I don't remember running, but I ended up at the register gasping. Rain still slammed the windows. Somewhere behind me, the intercom crackled. Vanessa. The voice was mine. The power snapped back. Fluorescence flickered to life like nothing happened. Next morning, Don found me sleeping in the break room, head on the table. He laughed it off. Rough night? When I told him about the door, he froze. There ain't no stockroom number 9, he said. Never was. He looked old suddenly, older than the years I'd known him. But my time card said otherwise. Clock out 3:17 a.m. Location, or 9. I tried not to think about it. People see weird things when they're tired. Still, the hallway felt colder every shift. A week passed before the next thing happened. I was restocking shelves when Marlene, the new cashier, asked, "Hey, what's with the extra door back there? The one that's taped shut?" I froze. Taped shut. When I walked back, sure enough, yellow packing tape crossed the door like a warning. Someone had written "Do not enter" in thick marker. I asked Don. He said nothing, just rubbed his temples and muttered, "Corporate nonsense, one but corporate doesn't send tape." That night, I dreamed of the staircase again. Only this time, I made it to the bottom. The floor was slick, like melted wax, and the mannequin heads whispered. When I woke, the smell of perfume lingered on my pillow. Inventory logs started changing on their own. Boxes that didn't exist appeared in the system. Merchandise, head units, stockroom number 9, quantity 14. I deleted the entry. It came back. Don stopped showing up. Corporate sent a temporary manager named Cheryl. All smiles and clipboard confidence. On her second day, she asked me for the keys. "Which one's for the 9th stockroom?" She joked. I told her there were only 8. She pointed to the tag. "Then what's this doing here?" I didn't have an answer. That night she stayed late, checking receipts. I left around 10. When I came back next morning, her car was still in the lot. No Cheryl inside. Just her clipboard, on the floor outside the back hallway. Papers soaked in something dark. Police came. They said maybe she left town. People leave Dry Creek all the time, but no one moves their own car seat back that far. After that, we stopped closing the store properly. No one wanted the night shift. Sometimes I worked alone because hours were hours, and fear doesn't pay rent. The noises came back and scraping, rolling, faint metallic laughter like wheels squeaking over tile. I told myself it was plumbing, or rats, or Don, but then I saw the carts. They appeared in random aisles after closing, empty, perfectly aligned, always facing the same direction toward that hallway. If I turned them around, they'd be facing it again by morning. The security cameras caught static every night between 3:00 and 3:20 a.m. A blank strip of footage, like the building held its breath. Once during those minutes, I stayed to watch. I kept the monitor on, flashlight ready. At 3:14, motion sensor blinked. Something moved down the hall, tall, thin, pushing a cart piled high with mannequin heads. When it turned the corner, I recognized the vest. Green Dollar Tree logo. Mine. The feed cut to static. Sleep stopped helping. I started forgetting things. What day it was. Whether I'd locked the front door, whether I'd eaten. Sometimes I'd find receipts printed with items no one bought. Return to sender. $1 once. I found one on the floor outside the break room stamped "Thank you, Vanessa." No register prints names. I told myself I was hallucinating, but the smell, copper and perfume, followed me home. It seeped into my clothes, my sheets, my hair. Neighbors complained about a humming noise at night. I didn't hear it until I pressed my ear to the wall. A low vibration, steady, like breath behind drywall. 2 nights before Halloween, corporate called. They said they'd be closing. Dry Creek's location for maintenance. told me to do one last inventory sweep. Alone, I started around midnight. Every aisle felt wrong, too neat, too symmetrical. Even the candy looked organized by color gradient, and in the reflection of the freezer glass, I could have sworn I saw movement behind me, though the floor stayed silent. When I reached the back hallway, the yellow tape was gone, the padlock too. The door stood slightly open, breathing cold air. I told myself not to. Then I did. Flashlight trembling, I stepped inside. The staircase was back. The air shimmered faintly, as if light existed somewhere far below. Each cart I passed had fewer mannequin heads. Empty sockets stared up. One cart held a vest, neatly folded. Name tag glinting, Cheryl. I kept going. The hum grew louder, mechanical, rhythmic. At the bottom, the corridor opened into a vast storage floor that shouldn't have fit beneath the building. Endless shelves stretched into the dark, stocked not with products but with duplicates, boxes labeled with our names. Dawn, 1 unit. Marlene, 1 unit. Cheryl, 1 unit. And then, at the far end, Vanessa, in progress. The box beneath that label was half open. Inside was a mannequin torso wearing my vest. Its head was missing. Something moved behind me. Soft wheels rolling. I turned. The tall figure approached, pushing a cart. Under the flickering emergency light, I saw its face clearly for the first time. It was mine. Not similar, identical. Down to the freckle beneath my left eye. Only the eyes were glass. It smiled that too wide smile. I stumbled back, flashlight clattering. The duplicate reached out, slow, deliberate, fingers stiff like plastic bending. When it touched my arm, the world went white. I woke in the break room, head pounding. Clock said 3:17 a.m. The store was silent. The door to the hallway was sealed again. No tape, no padlock, just smooth wall. I told myself it was a dream, but my arm hurt where it touched me, faint bruise shaped like fingers. Next morning, corporate arrived, men in suits, quiet, efficient. They moved through aisles like surveyors mapping a tomb. By noon, they'd boarded up the back hallway and told us to clock out indefinitely. Before leaving, one of them handed me my last check. His gloves were spotless. "Thank you for your service, Miss Crow," he said. "We appreciate your time in Unit 9. I started to correct him, to say you mean Store 9, but the look he gave me froze the words. He knew. I tried to find another job, but everywhere smelled faintly of cleaner and cardboard. Every store I walked into, my eyes drifted to the back, expecting to see that hallway. Sometimes I do, even when it isn't there. At home, my kitchen light flickers the same way as the stores. I keep hearing wheels on tile. Last night I found a receipt on my counter. Item: head unit, price $1 cashier. Vanessa Crow, location, Gear 9. The paper was warm. I tried to burn it. It wouldn't catch. A month later, they reopened the Dry Creek location under new management. Grand reopening banners, fresh paint, bright lights. I shouldn't have gone back, but I had to see. Inside, everything looked the same. Too same. Same aisles, same displays. Even the same hum under the floor. A girl about my age worked the register. Her name tag read, Vanessa. I laughed. Told her that was my name too. She smiled, polite, blank. "Really? That's funny," she said. "I just started last week." When I asked about the storage rooms, she said there were 8. Then her radio crackled, static, then a faint whisper, sounded like my voice. "Unit 9, report to inventory." She frowned. "That's weird," she said. "We don't have a Unit 9. I didn't answer, because from the back of the store came the faint, familiar sound of wheels turning. I don't sleep much anymore. Every time I close my eyes, I'm back on those stairs. Sometimes I'm climbing down, sometimes up, sometimes I'm watching myself from below. The other night, I woke to find my closet door ajar. Inside, neatly folded on the shelf, was a green vest, tag pinned to the pocket, Murder 9. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. When I answered, a voice whispered, "Vanessa Crow. Please return to inventory." I dropped the phone. It kept whispering from the floor. Then I heard wheels rolling down my hallway. I'm writing this now with the lights off. If I stay still, it stays quiet. But the air smells like copper again. And there's a faint click of metal behind the wall, like a lock turning. Maybe I never left. Maybe no one does. Because in Dry Creek, there's always a room you're not supposed to open, and someone always does. Sometimes, when the power flickers, I swear I see that door reflected in the glass, gray metal, slightly open, breathing. And I hear the squeak of a single cartwheel, closer each time. The light hums. The air tastes like pennies. And somewhere behind me, a voice that sounds exactly like mine whispers, "Price check, $1. Night shifts have a rhythm that gets into your bones after a few years. The buzz of the fluorescents, the slow wheeze of the vents, the way everything smells faintly of old plastic and bleach. That smell sticks to your hands no matter how much soap you use. I used to think it was comforting. Something clean in a world that isn't. I'm Mark Dillon, 38, janitor at the Dollar Tree in Ridgefield, Ohio. Been here 5 years. My life runs on mop water and vending machine coffee. You'd think 5 years in the same 4 walls would make them feel smaller. Somehow it just makes them deeper. The store breathes when it's empty. I swear it does. It exhales through the vents when the AC kicks on. And when I'm pushing my mop past aisle 7, the air pulls back into the rafters like it's listening. That night started the same as always. Clock in at 10, empty the bins, sweep the front glass where kids press their sticky fingers all day. By 1:30, the world outside was dead quiet, just drizzle whispering against the roof. The smell of cleaner hung heavy. My shoes squeaked on the waxed floor. At 2:30, the intercom clicked. Static first, then a voice. "Clean up in aisle 3. I stopped mid-mop. No one else was here. The manager left hours ago. The cameras, the alarms, the motion sensors, and all feed through the same panel in the office. Nothing trips without a login. I waited. Silence. Just the hum of lights. Still I went. Habit. Aisle 3. Party supplies, balloons, cheap wrapping paper. Everything smelled faintly of latex and dust. The floor was spotless. I'd scrubbed it myself an hour ago. But there was a smell. Beneath the bleach, something sharp burnt. Like hair on a stove coil. I leaned on the mop handle and stared down the aisle. The intercom crackled again. "Clean up in aisle 3. Same words. Same tone. Only this time, the voice was mine. Every hair on my arm lifted. I looked up at the ceiling speaker. A ring of dust around the grill, nothing else, and hello? My voice echoed back smaller than it should have. The store monitors were on in the office. I could see the glow through the doorway at the end of the hall. I walked over, heart thudding in the hush. All 9 feeds were running, every aisle empty, except aisle 3. Someone was mopping there. Same height, same uniform, same slow movement. Me. The footage lagged half a second behind my breath. I raised my hand. On screen, I kept mopping. Didn't look up. Didn't stop. Then the reflection in the monitor smiled. I didn't. I killed the feed, yanked the power cord out. The screen went black. When I turned, the lights above aisle 3 were out. All of them. Just a faint shimmer on the tile like water. I walked back, each step sticking a little, like the floor was breathing glue. In the dim glow, I could see my reflection stretched across the wet tile, upside down, staring. Its lips moved. Clean up in aisle 3. The sound didn't come from the speakers. It came from below, muffled by water. I backed away, heart hammering so loud I could feel it in my teeth. The mop slipped, clattered to the ground. The reflection didn't flinch. It just smiled wider, teeth white against the dark. The smell of burnt hair thickened until I gagged. Then the light snapped on, too bright, washing everything blank. The floor was dry. No puddle. No reflection. Morning came like it always does. Too bright. Too normal. Manager found me asleep in the break room. Said I'd been working late. Security log showed motion in the aisles for hours. Cameras caught me cleaning the floors. I don't remember it. That's the part that sticks. The missing hours. Like someone borrowed me and forgot to put me back exactly right. For days after, the intercom would pop alive every few hours, soft static sighing through the ceiling. Sometimes it said nothing. Sometimes a faint whisper that almost sounded like my name. I told Rick, the day supervisor. He laughed. System glitch. Those panels are older than you. I tried to believe him, but glitches don't smell like burnt hair. Second week after it happened, I started hearing a hum under the floor, low, steady, like a motor running miles away. When I stood over aisle 3, it grew louder, vibrating through my shoes, into my bones. That night, the store stayed open late for inventory. A few employees wandered the aisles counting stock, half asleep. Around midnight, the power dipped. Lights flickered, buzzed back. Everyone cursed and went back to work. I checked the breaker room. Nothing tripped. But the intercom light was on, bright red. I leaned in. Static whispered. Then my voice again. Mark Dillon to aisle 3. I looked down the hall. All the way at the end, past the paper plates and cheap candles, the last 2 bulbs flickered in rhythm with the hum. Rick, I called. No answer. I should have left. Instead, I pushed the mop cart like I was sleepwalking. Halfway down the aisle, I stepped in water. Cold soaked through my shoes. But when I looked down, there was no reflection this time, only darkness under the surface, thick as oil. The smell of bleach turned metallic. My eyes watered, something rippled. Not in the water, in the tile itself, as if the floor were thin plastic stretched over a fan. I dropped the mop. It didn't hit the ground. It just sank. Then the speaker above me whispered, not my voice this time, but hundreds, overlapping versions of me saying the same line in different tones. Clean up in aisle 3. The tiles split open with a wet sigh. I fell forward, no, down, into a room lit by the same fluorescence. Endless aisles repeating into the dark. Water dripped from somewhere above. The smell of cleaner burned my throat. In every aisle, copies of me pushed mops across endless floors, moving in perfect rhythm. Their faces were slack, eyes milky. Each one looked up at once and smiled. When I woke, I was lying on the break room floor, hands raw, uniform soaked. Clock read 3:03 a.m. The mop was beside me, dry. Rick swore he'd seen me through the window 20 minutes earlier, still mopping. He showed me the camera feed, me pushing the cart down aisle 3, eyes black from the glare. Then I turned toward the camera and grinned, the same slow, mechanical grin I'd seen on the screen before. I tried to quit. 2 days later, the manager called, said they needed me for one last clean. Extra pay. Just a night, I went, because that's what you do when your life's nothing but paychecks and bleach. The store looked different. New paint, new lighting, aisles rearranged. But when I reached the middle, I could still feel the hum through the mop handle. The intercom crackled. Clean up in aisle 3. I whispered, I'm already here. The lights above me blinked out one by one, leaving a tunnel of darkness stretching forward. In it, water shimmered, catching what little glow remained. My reflection stood waiting, upside down on the ceiling this time, mop in hand. It smiled that too-wide smile. I felt the floor give. They found the store flooded the next morning. No body, just a mop floating in the middle of aisle. The security footage corrupted, static, except for one frame. Me staring up at the camera, mouth open like I was about to speak. Sometimes when you walk past that Dollar Tree at night, the lights flicker behind the glass. If you listen close, you can hear the hum under the floor, and through the speaker, a faint voice that sounds tired but polite, doing its job. Clean up in aisle 3. I never thought I'd go back there, not after the fire. They said it was faulty wiring, the official phrase that makes tragedy sound like a fixable inconvenience. Faulty wiring. Like the flames that ate through the aisles, the screams trapped behind locked exit doors were just a technical oversight. I was the one who locked those doors. That's the part I don't tell anyone. It was protocol then, corporate policy for overnight inventory. Lock the emergency exits so nobody slips out with stock. I followed rules. I always did. 3 people died that night. 10 years later, when they told me the new Dollar Tree in Ashford, Illinois had finally reopened. Same address, same lot. I told myself I'd go only once. Just to inspect it, sign the paperwork, and leave. But the moment I stepped out of the car, I smelled it. That faint sweetness of smoke, hidden under the chemical scent of fresh paint and asphalt. It was cold that morning, yet the air shimmered like heat above a flame. Inside, the lights buzzed softly overhead, white and sharp. The floors gleamed too much, as if someone had polished the memory out of them. And then she appeared. A young woman with perfect posture, uniform crisp and green, standing behind the counter like she'd been waiting. Her name tag read El Romero. I stopped walking. The name hit like a shock. Leah Romero, night shift associate, dead in the fire. "Welcome back," she said. Her voice was calm, almost kind. Something inside me twisted. The first thing that felt wrong was the sound. Everything hummed, fridges, lights, vents, all in the same pitch, like a single long note that followed me from aisle to aisle. Every shelf was full, but every product looked familiar. The same faded packaging we had before the fire, brands discontinued years ago. Even the candy near the register, Butter Rum Lifesavers, Ecto Cooler boxes, things that hadn't existed. Since the 2010s, I ran my hand along a shelf. Static jumped to my skin. The cold air smelled faintly of plastic and char. When I reached the back of the store, I stopped by the freezer door. There it was, the dented panel from before. Same gouge on the handle, same sticker that said "Do not slam." But that freezer had melted in the fire. I remember seeing it in the photos. I touched the metal. My palm came away black and soot when the hum deepened. Lights flickered. For a moment, every fluorescent tube in the ceiling pulsed red before returning to white. From the front, the register chimed, the same bell sound we used when a transaction completed. But nobody was there. The printer started rolling. Long sheets of paper spilled across the counter, fluttering to the floor. Each line said the same thing. "Thank you for returning." I picked up a slip. The ink was warm. "Excuse me," I called. No answer. The store felt smaller, like the aisles had leaned closer. When I finally saw her again, the clerk, Leah, she was standing near the end cap stacking boxes. Her motions were too slow, too precise, like she was following choreography she barely remembered. "Leah," I said before I could stop myself. She turned. Her face looked just like I remembered. Soft, almost sleepy, but her eyes had the flat stillness of glass. "You left before the doors closed," she said. I opened my mouth to respond, but the sound of the sprinklers cut me off. Except it wasn't water that fell. Ash drifted from the vents, gray snow sifting through the air, coating the tiles, the shelves, my hair. I coughed. The air burned. The smell of burning plastic filled the room again, sharp and metallic. I ran toward the exit. The doors didn't open. Outside, through the glass, I could see people. They stood in a half circle facing the store, silhouettes, watching. Their faces glowed orange in the flicker of some unseen fire. I could make out their uniforms, green vests, name tags half melted, the old crew, every one of them smiling. The alarms wailed, but there was no flashing light, just the high-pitched tone, constant like tinnitus. I grabbed the door handle. It burned my palm. Behind me, the aisles started to melt. Plastic warped. Cans bulged. The floor rippled like heat haze. And over it all, that hum, deeper now, almost a voice beneath the frequency. "Melissa." I turned, expecting someone, but there was only smoke, thick and gray curling through the light. "Melissa," the voice said again. Closer. A shape moved in the haze. A figure with no features, glowing faintly from within, like an ember remembering its own flame. I backed away. My heel slipped on something wet. The register drawer had opened again. Bills fluttered, edges singed. On the screen, numbers flickered. All sixes. 6-66. I stumbled toward the manager's door, the one that led to the back office. Maybe the side exit still worked, but when I opened it, there was no office. Only a narrow hallway, walls blackened, lined with empty frames. Inside each frame hung a piece of melted plastic, shaped like faces. My employees. I recognized Mark's crooked nose, Renee's earrings melted into her ears, Leah's smile twisted into something wrong. The hallway smelled like burnt hair. "Why did you leave us?" a voice whispered from the dark. I turned, but the hall was empty. Only the sound of slow breathing, not mine. Something brushed my shoulder. Fingers. I swung my flashlight toward it. For a second, I saw a hand, charred, translucent, reaching out of the wall itself. Then it was gone. When I reached the end of the corridor, I found a door I didn't remember. No label, just scorched wood and a faint light beneath it. I hesitated. My hand shook. But behind me, the whispering grew louder, all those half-burned voices calling my name. So I opened it and stepped into the old store. Not the new one. The real one. The one from before. The lights were dim, flickering yellow. Shelves half collapsed, the air thick with smoke. It was like stepping backward in time to the night of the fire, except everything was still, frozen mid-breath. I could hear them. The same sounds I'd heard that night, the faint pop of glass, the low moan of steel bending. Somewhere distant, a scream began, then cut off, and there, by the counter, Leah stood again. Her hair was soaked black, her skin cracked like porcelain. She smiled. "You said you'd be right back," she whispered. "You left us." I couldn't move. My throat locked. "You locked the doors?" Her voice broke. "We couldn't get out?" I shook my head, tears burning my eyes. "I tried." "No." She stepped closer. "You ran." The air shimmered between us, the heat thickening. Shelves began to smoke. Products melted into liquid color, dripping onto the floor like wax. I could feel my heartbeat in my teeth. "I didn't mean to." "You did." Something behind her burst, a fluorescent tube cracking, spraying sparks. Her skin caught the light and seemed to glow from the inside. Then she screamed, but it wasn't pain. It was release. The flames returned. Orange tore through the aisles. Paper exploded into cinders. The air roared. I fell backward, covering my face, and through my fingers, I saw every one of them, the crew, standing in the fire, smiling, Mark, Renee, Leah, all of them watching me burn. When I woke, I was lying on the tile. Everything was white again, clean, no smoke, no fire, just the hum of the lights. The store looked perfect, neat, bright, untouched. I stood up slowly. My palms were black with soot. At the register, the roll of receipts still lay on the counter. But now the message was different. Each line read, "You're one of us now." My reflection in the glass looked strange, softer, younger, uniform perfectly pressed. My name tag read M. Crane, neat and new. The front doors opened on their own. Cold air rushed in, sharp, chemical, clean. A man walked through, tall suit, clipboard in hand. "District manager?" he called. I smiled. "Welcome back." The lights flickered. The register chimed, and behind me, the sprinklers hissed, ash falling like snow. Outside, the morning sun rose red through the haze. Inside, the hum began again. Soft at first, then deeper. A single endless note, the sound of fire remembering itself. I stood behind the counter, smiling. "Thank you for returning."